one of the most important areas of space, the largest concerns of space, and therefore also of space law, which is space debris or space junk, right? So there is no legal obligation in the Outer Space Treaty, because back then it wasn't an issue. Nobody thought about the environment and this 1 or 2 third stage rockets that were floating around. Who cares? That was the thinking in 1967. Now, of course, we are in a totally different situation, but the articles of the Outer Space Treaty do not even provide for an obligation not to wantonly spoil outer space. The Indians may have raised a big stink when early 2019 they destroyed their own satellite, creating a huge chunk of space debris. But legally speaking, there was no rule prohibiting them from doing that. And there is also no rule to clean up your own mess after yourself. If you have a satellite out there which is at the end of its lifetime, there's no international obligation requiring you to make sure that it is boosted into deep space, never to be seen again.
It's not like hiking in a national park where you're expected to pack in everything that you want to use and pack it all out, bring out every little sandwich wrapper that you brought with you.
On the other hand, coming back to the customary law issue, what you do see happening is that states have already agreed on guidelines that that's not the proper way of behavior. Guidelines are not legally binding. So it's still a recommendation for states, which could be seen as a starting point for customary law. What we also see happening is that the guidelines, which in themselves are not legally binding, are now used by various states, the United States, United Kingdom, France, as binding obligations in terms of the licensing regime for their private operators. So one of the guidelines is you shall make plans for an afterlife disposal of your space object, which is, again, not a legal obligation internationally speaking, but a recommendation. But you see now that if in the US you want to have a license for a launch or for a space operation, the regulatory agency is going to require you, well, what is your plan for afterlife disposal? And if the plan that you show to them doesn't satisfy their concerns, you don't get a license. So at the private national level, it starts to become already a binding legal obligation, which, going back to customary international law, at some point in time may lead to the conclusion that apparently the United States considers it now a matter of law that you can't just leave your satellite up there. You have to do something about it at the end of lifetime. And if you have more countries along the same lines, then you get customary international law. So that's a process, I think, I hope, which we're in the middle of right now.